Hi everyone! Today we have a great sequence for beginners, and it's also great if you've just started your yoga practice or today might be the first day you're starting your yoga practice. This is a standing pose sequence, so when you're starting your yoga practice, you really want to start from the ground up, building a foundation. So we're going to be working with strengthening those large muscles of the legs and also working on the flexibility of our lower body. So today we're going to be on our feet a lot. We're going to start with some warm-up stretches and end with some cool-down stretches where we'll be on the floor, but otherwise we'll be standing in our poses today. We are going to be using the yoga strap to for sure warm up with, but if you don't have one, no big deal. You can use the belt from a house coat, you can use a tea towel, you can use just your hands. It's really not that important to have an official yoga strap. Otherwise, I think we will be using a blanket sometimes just for comfort, under the knees perhaps or under the head. Otherwise, you just need your yoga mat and a bit of space. We're going to start lying down. Make sure you have your yoga strap or whatever you're using instead of a yoga strap nearby, and you might want a folded blanket or towel under the head just for some added comfort. As you lie down, have the knees bent and the feet on the floor. You might bring the hands onto the belly. We're going to take a few breaths here, just settling into the space. You can close your eyes. Just check in with your body. So notice if you're holding on to any tightness in the muscles. Unclench your jaw. Let the belly be soft. Feel the body just melting into the floor. Really settle into the support of the ground underneath you. And turn your attention to your breath. Feel your body breathe. You might have noticed your breath has already started to slow down or deepen. Take one more deep inhale and exhale here. And then let's hug our right knee up and in toward our belly. Just pause here as you soften through the right hip, allowing the knee to come in toward the belly. You might circle around your right ankle here. Give your toes a wiggle. And then reach for your belt, if you're using one, your yoga strap. Loop it around the sole of the foot, closer up to the toes. So if your strap is way back here, it's going to change your stretch. You want it to be up close to the toes to get the best stretch. And then reach your foot up or out so you can straighten the knee. Remember, if your foot doesn't go all the way up toward the ceiling, that's not a big deal. You can bring your foot lower. As long as the knee straightens, you should feel a good stretch through the back of the leg. Try to relax the shoulders down toward the floor here, and we're going to breathe into this stretch. always good to stretch out the hamstrings before you start moving into some of the yoga poses, because those hamstrings can shorten up and tighten up really quickly for people. Let's take one more deep breath here. And then go ahead, release the foot from the belt. Let the leg come back down to the floor, knees staying bent if that's comfortable, and just pause. Hugging your left knee in toward the belly, in toward the chest. Let's circle out that left ankle. Give the toes a wiggle. And then loop the belt around the sole of the left foot. Stretch it up or out, straightening through the back of the leg. You want to make sure as this leg is straight, you're reaching through the heel of your foot. So if you can see the difference, this is reaching up through the heel. This is not reaching up through the heel. That would be reaching through the toes. So we want to flex through the foot to reach up through the heel. That's going to give you a much better stretch. Keep breathing. And then exhale, release the foot from the belt. Let's just move the belt off to the side. Go ahead and hug both of your knees up and in. If it's challenging to bring the hands around the shin, you can also use your belt for this, just over the shins or behind the thighs. Rock a little side to side. And then roll to your side. Ooh, I'm on a squeaky part of the floor. Sit all the way up. And we're coming up to hands and knees. So you might want your blanket or towel under your knees for this. We're going to stack the wrists under the shoulders and the knees under the hips, starting in a tabletop position here. We're going to do a couple rounds of cat and cow because I always like to warm up the spine no matter what kind of practice we're doing. So starting with your nice, flat, neutral spine, take a deep breath in. As you exhale, you're rounding the spine. So the tailbone lengthens, the middle back, the shoulders, the upper back, and finally the head and neck move as you round into cat spine. As you inhale, arch through the back. So you're reaching the tailbone up, then the middle back, then the shoulders, chest, and head. Move with your pace at your own breath here. Exhaling as you round into cat. Inhaling as you arch into cow spine. Couple more times. It's better if you have your hair in a ponytail for this part. One more breath. Round and arch. All right, from here, let's take a little child's pose. So taking the knees wide apart, taking the toes together. I want you to sink back into your hips, soften through those hip creases, folding forward here. Now, if your forehead doesn't comfortably reach the floor, you can stack, oh my goodness, my hair. You can stack your fists or your palms and let your head rest into that instead. Taking one more deep breath here. And then inhale back to your tabletop. Stack those wrists under the shoulders and the knees under the hips. We're going to move into a downward dog once I get my hair sorted here. What can I say? I'm doing my best, guys. We're going to work with our downward dog a little bit today. So you're going to walk your hands so that the wrists come ahead of the shoulders. You want to make sure your hands are for sure shoulder width apart. Some people might prefer them to be even wider apart. Spread the fingers and make sure your entire palm presses down into the mat. So even especially that place, the webbing between the thumb and the pointer finger. Making sure your feet are hip distance apart and that you don't have your towel under your feet because you don't want to slip. You're going to curl your toes under. Press through the hands, press through the feet, and start to lift yourself all the way up and back. If you can straighten the legs, then straighten those knees. You want the heels to be stretching down toward the floor. So you don't want to be up on your toes like this. You want the heels reaching toward the floor. Think of bringing the bottom of your rib cage toward the top of your thighs as you stretch those hips up and back. Head is resting between the arms. Let's take one more breath here. As you inhale, start to bring your hands and feet together. Any way that works for you. I'm going to walk mine together. And slowly rise up to standing. Clear your mat of its props, blankets, or belts so we can move on to our standing poses. We're going to do each pose separately, and we'll do right side and then left. And then we'll pause, move to the next standing pose. We're going to start with Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2. You want to start with a nice wide step of the feet. If you're wondering how wide you should take those feet, if you look at your wrist, you have your little wrist creases. When I stretch my arms out all the way at shoulder height, if I had a little string hanging from that crease of my wrist, that's where I want the edges of my feet. So it's a really nice wide step. We're going to turn our right toes out so that the right toes point to the short edge of the rectangle mat. And I want you to take a peek down at your heels and line those two heels up. Standing tall, we're going to inhale to stretch those arms out at shoulder height, reaching those fingers away from one another, but relaxing through the shoulders. Your eyes are going to look over the right fingers, but everything past the fingertips should be a little bit blurry, so your eyes are nice and soft. As you exhale, you're going to bend into your right knee. Now this is important. You want to line up your knee with your ankle. So we don't want this knee coming past the ankle. That's a little bit hard on the joint. So try to make sure your stance is wide enough so that the knee doesn't come past the ankle. Arms out at shoulder height, and here we are in our Warrior 2. Back leg is straight and strong. Shoulders are relaxed. Face is relaxed. Keep breathing. One more breath. Inhale, straighten your front leg, your right leg. You can keep the arms out if you want a little challenge, or let them rest. Turn your right foot forward and your left foot out. Checking in, make sure those two heels are still lined up. Gaze turns over the left fingers. As you exhale, deeply bend into your left knee. Same thing, make sure the knee and the ankle line up. Relax the shoulders. Keep breathing. One more breath here. And then relax the arms. Straighten the leg, heel toe wiggle, step those feet together. Pause for a breath. On to triangle pose. Taking that wide step again. You might want to Bring the feet a little closer than your warrior two, but not by much. Legs are staying straight in our triangle pose. So when we're working with a bent knee, that's usually strengthening those muscles. When we have a straight leg in a pose, we're stretching the muscles. So we're turning our right toes out. So we start in that same position as we did in our warrior two, but this time, like I said, legs stay straight. Arms extend at shoulder height. As you exhale, I want you to think of reaching forward, like you're reaching for something really yummy and delicious. And then you're just going to bring your right hand down, not pressure, but just resting it on whatever part of the leg you get to. Your left arm is going to stretch straight up to the ceiling. So if you can notice, my two shoulders are working at stacking on top of one another. So my chest is nice and open, my top arm is reaching straight up to the sky, and the head can either stay forward, you can turn up to look at the top fingers, or down if that's easier on your neck. Breathe. Doesn't matter how far you get toward the floor. You can stay up very nice and high in your triangle and still receive all the benefits. So don't let that get in your way. Inhale, come all the way up. Right foot comes forward, left foot turns out. Inhale. Exhale, moving from those hips, legs straight. Reach forward and then down. Top arm is stretching up toward the sky. Shoulders are stacked. Notice the difference between one side of your body and the other. Keep breathing. Inhale, coming all the way up. Relax the arms, feet step in together. Pause. Still with me? One more standing pose here. Let's stretch our feet nice and wide apart. Back into that warrior two step, so the first pose we did. This next pose is called extended side angle. Parshvakonasana with a K. There's a couple of the Sanskrit terms that are very close together, and this one I often get mixed up with another. All right, so we're starting in that warrior two stance, and we're going to find that deep bend. So we're right back into our warrior two, Virabhadrasana 2. But this time we're going to take our right elbow. We're going to move from the hips, side bend, bring the elbow to the thigh. You want to keep your chest open. So don't let this top shoulder drop down. Keep it lifting up toward the ceiling. Our left arm is going to reach up and over our head, and we're going to stretch that arm forward. So this one's called extended side angle, like I said. So you're making an angled line from your fingers all the way down your arm, your body all the way to the back foot. So press down into the baby toe edge of that back foot, back leg is strong. Breathe. You can turn the head up if that's comfortable. And then inhale to come all the way up. Turn the right foot forward, left foot out, other side. Start by finding that deep bend, line the knee with the ankle, and then side bend, elbow to thigh. Shoulder, top shoulder, right shoulder is up. Inhale, right arm reaches up and over toward the short edge of your mat. Breathe. Back leg stays strong. Soften your face. Inhale, come all the way up. turn your toes forwards. Keep your wide step here. Make sure your 2 feet are lined up. Sometimes as you're turning them, they move. We're gonna take just a forward fold here. So as you inhale, take the hands to the hips, roll the shoulders back, look up, lift the chest. Exhale, fold, moving from the hips. If the hands reach the floor, let them come down. If not, just let them hang. Let the neck release. As you inhale, slowly rise all the way up. And then stepping your feet together, coming to stand. Take a breath. All right, we're moving back down to the floor to cool the body down and come into relaxation. So let's move down through a downward dog into a child's pose. Starting at one end of your mat, you're going to take a deep breath, stretch. Exhale and fold. Bend your knees so your hands can come to the mat. Walk those feet back, stretching the hips up, and come back to that downward facing dog. Stretch it all out. And then bend your knees, take them down to the mat. If you want to slide your blanket or towel under the knees, now is a good time. Take the knees wide, toes together, sit back to the heels, and rest in your child's pose. Now, if child's pose is not restful for you for any reason, you can lie down flat on your belly or on your back, or just come to a sitting position. We're using this child's pose as a transition, as a resting point. So I want you to feel like you're resting. Inhale to slowly come all the way back up. We're going to come to lie down on our back. So once again, perhaps you want a pillow under the head, so your folded blanket or your folded towel under your head. Lay down. Have the knees bent and the feet on the floor, coming back to the same position we started in. Take a couple of moments to notice how your body is feeling. Has anything shifted or changed since the beginning of our time together? I'm just going to give the hips a little stretch out here with thread the needle. So you're going to lift the right foot, cross it up and over so that the outer right ankle comes to the top of the left thigh, opening that right knee away from the body. And then if you're already getting enough stretch here, stay right here. Otherwise, pull the legs in toward you, bringing your hands or bringing your belt behind the left thigh. So this one's thread the needle. You think of the space between the legs as the eye of the needle. Your right arm is the thread as it goes through and around the leg. At least I think that's why it's called thread the needle. Couple deep breaths here. Exhale to release. Uncross that right leg. Pause to let the hips resettle. Other side, left leg lifts up, crosses over. Open through the knee and hip. Exhaling to hug the legs in, pull them in if that feels good. Exhale to release. Take a breath. And then hug both knees in. Might rock and roll, circle the knees around, just massaging out the back body. And if you've watched my restorative video, you've heard me say that I always end, just about always end, my in-person classes with this reclining twist, so I'm going to stay with my tradition in my videos. Arms opening wide on the floor, palms turning up toward the ceiling, and our knees are going to start by dropping over toward the left. Bringing the legs into the floor, and just letting the legs, the feet, the knees, everything rest into the floor here. Shoulders release, feeling that movement, that twist through the back body here. Using the twist to wring out any leftover tension. Every exhale, just soften the muscles. Inhale to bring the knees up to center and exhale them over to the other side. Deep breaths. Bring the knees back to center. You might feel good to hug them in one more time. And then we're moving into our final relaxation. For your Shavasana, you can have the legs stretched out on the floor if that's comfortable. Letting the toes flop away from one another. Letting the palms turn up toward the ceiling and the arms and legs completely relaxed. If you have tension in the low back, just keep the knees bent, maybe even falling in toward one another to help keep your back nice and comfortable. Close your eyes and just breathe. Since you're doing your Shavasana from the comfort of your own home, you can stay as long as you need to. Thank you so much for practicing with me. Make sure you let me know if you enjoyed this video. You can leave me a comment if you have any questions. Namaste.